On today's episode, we're going to be talking about wedding reception music. And to help me with that, we have the iconic DJ Mike Walter. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Wedding Songs Podcast, featuring newly released songs you need to know and the tried and true classics. Get song ideas from the time guests arrive until the last dance of the reception. And now your host, Matt Campbell, founder of MyWeddingSongs.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wedding Songs Podcast. I am Matt Campbell. Today, we're going to be talking about wedding songs during the reception. And to help me with that, we have Mike Walter. He is the owner of Elite Entertainment with a long list of his abilities, including DJ industry leader, conference speaker, trainer, author, and probably out of all those, everybody will say, oh, he wrote a book. He's an author. Crazy how people think, but he is located in Jersey. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I know that you've done thousands of weddings over the years, but does one particular wedding stand out as unique that you remember?
Wow, that's a good question. I would say going back many, many years ago, a very good friend of mine, older gentleman, his daughter was getting married. It was back in Queens where I grew up and where I actually met this man. And I got to DJ for him and his family and for his daughter's wedding. And there was just something really special about that. I was only maybe 3 years into my career. So this goes way, way back. This is either late 80s or early 90s. And listen, I'm sure I'm 10 times of a better MC and a DJ than I was then, just from experience and everything else. But the family was thrilled with everything. And it was a great party. And I just remember how proud I was. I had met this gentleman, I worked for him at the local church, and he saw me go on and be a DJ, but he really didn't know what I was doing. And so for me to be able to perform and, in front of him and really kind of help him and his family have an unforgettable day, that one still stands out for me as a very memorable and special occasion for me.
Was it because of the friend factor?
Yeah, it was. And Brendan Holohan is the gentleman's name. He's actually since left us. He passed away last year. And I'm still in touch with the family and everything else. Brendan was just a really special man in my life. He was my first boss and somebody that after I left working with him, we stayed in touch and we stayed friends. And so, yeah, it had a lot to do with that. I mean, I doubt it was the greatest party I've ever been involved in or anything else. But for me, there was a specialness because that I got to DJ for a dear friend and for his family and everything else.
That's awesome. Because, sometimes it's not about the goosebumps or memories that you created. It's the people that you know. So I love that. So if you could just please introduce yourself to our listeners.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said at the top, I own a company. We're in New Jersey, really along the Jersey Shore. You said North Jersey, but we're kind of central Jersey if you look at the map. I mean, we cover the whole state, but we're really focused here at the Jersey Shore. We focus on weddings. We do 1,000 events a year. About 700 of those are weddings. So obviously not all me. I've got a great staff of DJs that are fantastic and great talents, and some of them probably even better than I am. But yeah, it's a great company. I've been doing this. It's a great business. I've been doing this since the late 80s. Opened my own company 5 years in. So Elite Entertainment's been around for well over 30 years. And just love what I do and enjoy. It's Thursday right now as we're recording this. I've got 2 weddings this weekend. Was doing my final prep before I hopped on with you. I still really look forward to it. To me, the business part of this is kind of my day job and my Monday through Friday, and it's what I do to keep things going. But it's when I get to get out there on the weekends and rock a wedding and rock a dance floor. That's what I really enjoy about this business.
Yeah, those highs definitely keep you going for sure. So I credit with you with the inspiration behind the doors open dancing. I'm sure that's more of an East Coast thing for sure. What makes the doors open dancing such a powerful way to start off a reception?
Yeah, so that's a term. I mean, I don't know whether I was the first one to come up with it, but it's a term that I started using a lot, and I know a lot of DJs have adopted it. When you have most weddings that we do, there's cocktail hour in one room and a separate room, and then everybody after cocktail hour makes their way into the main ballroom. So that 15 to 20 minute transition period when literally the doors to the banquet room have opened and people are, I think the music that's played during that time is critical. I think it's really important. I call it priming the pump. You're getting people in the mood. I don't want to waste any dance floor bangers, but I'm certainly playing danceable, upbeat, fun sing-along type music at a volume that is much higher than it was during cocktail hour, because this is now the official party. I love it when I leave the room to go line up the bridal party and I come back in and there are already a handful of people on the dance floor. To me, that tells me two things. It tells me, A, I programmed that doors open mix pretty damn well, that without even like saying anything for people to dance to, they got on the dance floor. But B, it also tells me that likely this is going to be a really fun night. Like if these people were ready to dance at the jump, that tells me it's probably going to be a really fun night. I've had a number of DJs come out and shadow me on, while I'm working. In other words, be my assistant and work with me. And a number of years ago, I had somebody do that. And afterwards, we went out for, a late night drink and just chatting about it. And I said, so what'd you think? And he said, the biggest surprise to me was what you played. He didn't call it Doors Open, but he said in the beginning of the night before you even did intros. And I said, really? He goes, yeah, I usually do much more milder, like Kenny G. Now, this was a while ago, right, when Kenny G was still a thing to play. But he was like, yeah, I usually just keep it almost like dinner music. And I said, man, in my opinion, you're missing out on an opportunity there, because I love to get people in the mood to party early.
You opened the door a little bit, pun intended, for the dinner music. Do you think now that people are dancing, are you having a more upbeat dinner set then? Because
keep in mind, Matt, my timelines are a lot different than a lot of the country. Here in New Jersey, we do a lot of the formalities up front. So let's say it's a 7 to 11 wedding reception, right? 7 o'clock, we do the formalities, we do the introductions, we do the first dance, parents' dances, toasts, we do all that stuff up front. And then typically our banquet halls will serve a first course right after that. But then I'll have about a half-hour window to dance people. So I get that initial dance set early in the night before dinner. So then let's say it's about a half-hour dance set. Now they serve dinner. So at that point, I look at dinner as two halves. The first half, probably 15-ish minutes, I'm keeping it very mellow, very slow, and the volume lower so that people can begin eating. Second half, I'm slowly picking up the tempo a little bit, slowly raising the volume a little bit, to the point where by the end of dinner, which is about a half hour-ish, I'm playing stuff that similar to my Doors Open. It's not quite bangable. It's not the bangers that I'm going to be playing in a little bit, but it's certainly stuff that people can get up and dance to, or at least sing along to, get them back involved in the music. Now, at that point, a lot of times, I don't even have to say anything. I can build my dance floor from there without basically walking out and saying the dance floor is open. But again, keep in mind, I've already danced them for a good set before dinner, so that helps. But yeah, I look at dinner music first half as keep them seated, let them eat, keep the volume low enough that they can hear it, but they can talk. But then as people, finish their dinners, it's funny, when I first started DJing, this shows you how long I've been DJing. When I first started DJing, I was trained by another company. They told us the clue to when people are done eating is when you see the cigarette smoke start rising from the tables. Now, obviously, that's no longer a hint, because you're not allowed to smoke in most buildings anymore. But that always planted the seed to me that I should be on the lookout. Well, these people are wrapping up dinner. They're collecting plates. Let's start opening the dance floor.
Reading the room is so important. And I'm thinking about that doors open, even dinner. You're watching what they're doing, how they're reacting. Do you ever have to do a left turn?
Absolutely. Yeah. As a DJ, first of all, I've said this many times in seminars, programming is observation. What you just said, you're reading the room, you're trying to read. But yeah, there are plenty of times where I make the wrong call, or what I consider, I'll give you a good example. That half-hour dance set before dinner, I love it when I can take that dance set right up until dinner. Packed dance floor. Ladies and gentlemen, give yourselves a big round of applause. Main course is being served. Boom. But sometimes I get a little selfish and I think I can take it to dinner, and I look at the crowd and I go, oh, are they getting tired? And I go, no, Mike, go for it. And I play that one more song and I clear the dance floor. And I'm like, if I had only ended 5 minutes sooner. So, you try to read the tea leaves, and I think as a programmer, I do a good job of it, but you're never going to bat 1,000.
100%. So speaking of that, then, I was taught when I was first started DJing that you just go through the genres. So you start out, maybe now you would start out with the 80s, then you go to the he's making sure that
Can I
everybody's
just hang on one second while I take the
Sure.
knife out of you? Just called 80s oldies, didn't you? Wow. Yeah. So the music that was popular when I was in high school is now oldies.
Yes.
And you're not lying, Matthew. But
No.
yes, you're right. You're right.
I'm going to make it worse than that. I commented on a couple that's engaged saying that the 90s, and he was saying, yeah, even Blink 182 is classic rock now. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it is. Think about
That's
it.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, but I think with streaming though, everybody has access to all of this music, and I don't think what's your belief? Because I don't think that you have to stick to that formula of let's start older and work our way up. A lot of the seasoned people that are there are into the newer music too. Are you finding that?
And listen, a lot of younger people are into older music. So, and streaming probably has a lot to do with that. But, I think your concept of starting with the older music and building up is good in theory, but it doesn't have to be exact. There are plenty of times where my opening dance set has everything from Dancing Queen to a Taylor Swift song, to Yeah by Usher, to a line dance, to, you know what I mean? So a number of years ago, I started hearing the term open format DJ. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. What does that mean? And I looked it up and I said, well, that's basically every DJ that I know. Like I know there are some guys who do clubs and all they do is trap or hip hop, but no event DJ is a single format DJ. So we're all kind of open format DJs. So yeah, I mean, I think generally getting your oldies out of the way early and saving your hardcore EDM or, pop punk and stuff for the last hour, generally kind of that's a good concept, but you don't have to get locked into that.
I love that. People are changing and you just can't stick to that mold. I think that in order to be different as DJs, we have to get out of that mold of this is the way that every reception has to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Have you found any favorite deep cuts or hidden gems that just surprise you right now, now that we're in the middle of wedding season?
So you talking about me personally, or when I get a request from a couple and I go, oh, I wouldn't have thought to play that worked?
I'll take both. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take both.
So just recently I had that with Crocodile Rock.
Oh, yeah.
That's not a song I normally play, but I had a request for it, a request in advance from the couple. Because I'll be honest, if a guest had asked me for that song and it wasn't like a parent of the bride or groom, I probably wouldn't have played it because that to me is just not in my normal rotation. Couple had asked for it in advance, so I had it in my playlist for their wedding and I worked it in and it went over great. And I remember sitting there going, wow, I should maybe revisit that song. Maybe that's something that I hadn't given up on. And now I don't know whether somebody made a TikTok video out of it or, why it would even be requested. But so yeah, every once in a while, I love it when a couple gives me a song like that and I play it and I go, oh, wow, this is kind of cool. As far as me personally, there are a few deep tracks that I enjoy playing, but I recognize fully that a wedding is not my time to be playing my music. So I would never force a song on a crowd that I didn't think was really good. But for example, if 80s is going over really well, and I don't have so many requests from the couple that I have a little free, reign and I can drop. I love the Eddie Murphy song, My Girl Likes to Party All the Time. That to me is it was a hit, so it's not that deep of a track, but it's certainly not something that it's not in my heavy rotation. I don't think it's a lot of DJs' heavy rotation, but that's one of those songs when 80s is really hitting and I can drop that in and it blows up and people really enjoy it. I kind of go, yeah, that's cool, because that's not one that most people play.
Yeah. I had a conversation with a DJ the other day and we were talking about older rock and how in the 90s I was always playing Joy to the World by Three Dog Night. I was thinking, what if you brought that one back? And like you said, it just depends on the crowd. You can't just drop it just because it was a great song then. Doesn't mean they're going to relate to it.
Yeah, a number of years ago, this was before Will Smith smacked Chris Rock in the face. So I want to preface that. But a number of years ago, I felt like Getting Jiggy with It was due for a comeback. And I dropped it at a couple of different weddings in a row. and it just didn't go over. And so finally I said, you know what, Mike, your theory was wrong. Stop trying to impose this song on a crowd. It's not. And, I play that song every once in a while by request, but I took it out of my party playlist because another one like that was Tub Thumping. I felt a number of years ago with the resurgence of pop punk, I was like, you know what? Tub Thumping is one of those songs, and it just hasn't I've dropped it a couple times in that, and it just hasn't gone over. So I've said, you know what? People have forgotten about that song.
Or maybe because they heard it at sporting events so many times.
That could be too.
Just got tired.
Yeah.
Is there any music right now that you're seeing as far as dance trends or emerging music?
Wedding DJs and wedding pros, are you ready to elevate your expertise and keep the dance floor packed? Introducing the Wedding Music Letter, your weekly email written by me, Matthew Campbell, packed with exclusive insights and inspiration. Every Wednesday, I deliver curated playlists, deep dives into wedding and music industries, and practical tips on topics like science of creating a playlist, managing decibel levels, and crafting unforgettable parent dances. Stay informed, stay inspired. Subscribe to the Wedding Music Letter and bring the best music moments to life at every wedding. Sign up today at weddingmusicletter.com. The Wedding Music Letter, expert insights every Wednesday straight to your inbox at weddingmusicletter.com. Now back to the show.
Are you talking about brand new stuff?
Yep.
Well, the thing that has really surprised me most in the last few years is the way country artists have moved much closer to pop sounding. And I mean, my two biggest songs last year were both country songs. If I had to tell you the two newer songs that I played the most in calendar 2024, it would be I Had Some Help and the Bar Song by Shabuzi. And both of those are technically kind of country songs. And those are my two biggest. Now, the Bar Song really wasn't a raging song. It wasn't a banger, but I use that plenty of times, like we just talked about. When I'm looking for something mid-tempo coming out of dinner that maybe people will sing along to, I played that Bar Song plenty of times coming out of dinner last night. People started bopping around. Some people started moving around. And that's such low BPM that you can start building from there. So that one was a big song for that. And I Had Some Help. I have a remix of, most of the time I play that song, I just play the original version. I don't even play
I'm going to go off on a tangent on that. Are you finding that crowds relate more for original music versus the remixes because that's what they listen to?
I've always, to me, the definition of a really good remix is something that stays true to the original, but just punches up the beat, makes it slightly more danceable. First of all, I'm not a big fan of mashups. I don't like taking two songs and kind of mashing them together. And if a remix goes so far off the beaten path that people are like, wait, what song is this? Oh yeah, to me, that's not a good remix. I just want to take a song that maybe was quasi-danceable and make it a little bit more danceable. That to me is the definition of a good remix.
We're on the same belief there. I believe the same thing, especially for intros. If you're going from one song to the other and the intro goes so far off beat that they have to stop dancing to try to figure out what song that is, that's a party killer.
Yeah.
Now you've mentored so many DJs out there and influenced so many, especially through the PhDJ podcasts and your classes and all that. What's one piece of advice you would give to DJs about programming music at weddings?
Well, I kind of offered one already. I mean, programming is observation. I tell my own staff all the time, and anytime I work with DJs, you have to look up from the laptop in front of you and observe the crowd. If you're constantly just looking down into that laptop, you're missing clues. You're missing clues about where the crowd wants to go, whether they're getting tired, whether they're ready for an explosion, or whether, you're just missing clues about that. Half of my eye all the time is on the bride. Where is the bride? Is she happy? Is she dancing? Is she out of the room? I'm constantly in touch with my couple. And when I say in touch, just like watching them, are they happy? Are they looking like they're having a good time? So programming is definitely observation. I guess if I had to, if I had to offer another suggestion, it would be if one slow song doesn't work, the next one won't work either. I know some people that they'll play a slow song and their goal is to pack the dance floor and it doesn't. So then they think, oh, I'll play another slow song to pack. No, it didn't pack the dance floor. Move on. The last thing I ever want anybody to say about my parties is, he played too many slow songs or he kind of dragged it out. He didn't give us enough opportunity to dance. To me, in a 4-hour wedding, I want to squeeze in as much dancing time as possible. I know they got to eat. I know there are formalities and everything else. But outside of that, I'm trying to get that crowd dancing as much as possible.
And you're great at, I think one of the things, talking to a DJ this week too about AI, and one thing that AI can never replace is your mic skills. That the computer can't get on the mic and make announcements and make connections with people. I think that that's so vital, and one of the things that you're great at. Do you have any tips for, I know this is a broad question, but any tips for connecting with the crowd with your microphone?
Yeah, I would just say use it. Don't overuse it, because if you become the DJ that never shuts up and is screaming over every single song and telling us to sing along every chorus, that gets annoying and nobody wants to hear that. But I also don't think you can go chunks of time without speaking on the microphone. Every once in a while, you need to prompt the crowd, get them hand clapping, get them waving their hands, getting them jumping, getting them singing along, doing those things, because that peaks the energy in the room. And you just need to use the word that you just use. You need to connect with the crowd that way, because if not, you really could be replaced by AI. If somebody wants to sit down and write the program and teach AI how to DJ and mix and even scratch and everything else, it could be done. It could be done tomorrow, I'm sure. But like you just said, I don't think anybody wants the voice of God, meaning a voice with no body connected. Nobody wants a hologram DJ, MC. People still want a real live person doing the introductions and prompting a crowd and being animated and being fun. And as long as we do those things, I don't see how we're going to be replaced by a computer.
I totally 100% agree. But switching gears, you have a large team. When you're hiring a DJ, what level of music knowledge do you expect them to have before hiring them?
I don't need them to have any music knowledge. I will fill in all the blanks. I really prefer, when I hire somebody, I prefer to hire somebody with little to no DJing experience, little to no music knowledge. I'm looking more for personality, charisma, connection. I know this is going to sound superficial, but I look at their aesthetics. I think, good-looking people, however you want to just define the term good-looking, it's easier to book them. It's easier to promote them. I think attractive people have more confidence, and let's face it, it takes some confidence to do what we do, to step out on the dance floor and make those announcements. So that's what I'm looking for. Shake my hand and look me in the eyes in an interview, and you're probably hired. Like that, to me, especially a younger person, when an 18 or 19-year-old person comes into my office and can look me in the eye and we can have a conversation and they can make me chuckle with something that they said, boom, to me, you got it. I can train you. I can teach you everything else. Those things I can't teach. I can't teach self-confidence. I can't teach charisma. I can't take an introvert and make them an extrovert. Those things people either have or they don't have.
When I talked to Joe Bunn few episodes back, we were talking about this because you and I have the same philosophy. That my wife and I were at Walmart a couple of weeks ago, and the person taking our money there was just fantastic. And I was like, man, if I was hiring a DJ, I would be hiring you. So just taking advantage of that. Exactly.
Yeah. When I recruit, I put ads on Craigslist and try to find people, but I'm constantly looking. Like you said, I probably would have given that person a business card and said, hey, if you're interested, I've got some openings if you're ready to work on the weekends. I've got plenty of people. As I look at my staff, I got some staff pictures on this wall over here.
Awesome.
I've got plenty of DJs on staff that I have found through my course of life, just approaching them and saying, hey, you got a great personality. I think you could DJ.
Love it. So when you're working with couples, are you seeing any trends in music that they're selecting? Of course, pop punk is popular now. Are you seeing any other trends right now?
Well, to me, the biggest trends, the weddings are becoming less formal. Certainly in my market, they are. So, for example, the old school introductions where you had one bridesmaid and one groomsman paired up and you bring them in pairs, I'm seeing that less and less. A lot of couples nowadays just say, bring in the bridal party or bring in all the bridesmaids together and then all the groomsmen together. And I mean, the first time I got that request was a number of years ago. And I was like, oh, wow, is this going to work? You know what? It works great and sometimes better than the old school way, because a lot of times when you were paired off with somebody that you just met earlier in the day and you hardly know this person, you're kind of walking in with them on your arm and you're like, okay, who is this person? But when you're walking in, when the bridesmaids are introduced to 5 gals from the bridal party who went to the bachelorette party together and now they're partying again a couple weeks later, that's a fun moment. Same thing with the dudes. They were at the bachelor party a few weeks ago. Now they're coming in together as the groom's guys. I think it's great. So that's a sign to me. We're doing less and less cake cutting. I don't remember the last time I did the garter thing, which is fine by me. That was always a little cheesy and creepy. So yeah, I mean, a lot of those formalities are being eliminated, and I'm fine with it, because a lot of times it just means more party time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that I talked to a kid the other day. I'll call him a kid. And he was asking his mom what the garter toss was, because he's never even heard of it. Times are changing for sure. Let's talk about genres too. Are you seeing any genres right now that are becoming popular that surprise you?
I mean, I haven't seen anything since the resurgence of pop punk. I mean, when that started coming around, which I guess was right before the pandemic, right? I mean, we started playing like Mr. Brightside again and Sugar We're Going Down. And it makes sense, because music like that was popular when this generation of bride and groom were in high school and sometimes even before high school. I've always called songs like that hairbrush songs. Those are the songs that kids sang into the hairbrush in their bedroom, jumping around on their mattress. And, for me, that was Prince, which, you could probably tell if you could see behind me. I grew up in the 80s. I came of age in the early 80s. And to me, if you want to take me back to my hairbrush songs, it's music from the early 80s. So it only makes sense that today's generation, they're going crazy over Mr. Brightside and all the small things and stuff like that. So, but other than that, no. But I mean, just to repeat it, the other genre is country, but I don't even consider country anymore. Country music has moved so far into the centrist of pop music that it's really not that twangy country that you and I both grew up on,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, yeah, so many country crossovers, even the Florida Georgia line. It's just not really country anymore, what we call. And, the Grammys just announced that they're going to have a traditional country award.
I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now they're trying to separate, I'm sure, not to get political, but I'm sure the Beyonce winning the awards had something to do with it, the traditional versus modern. So
yeah.
It's funny too, you mentioned the hairbrush. I'm thinking, because I grew up late 80s, so I'm the hair band.
Yeah.
So I'm the Def Leppard, Journey, all that.
Yeah, for a lot of people, the hair band songs were their hairbrush music.
Right.
Yeah.
With the hairspray. That's funny, man. So when you're working with couples, is there any tips that you can give to couples that are planning their music that may not know what music that they want?
Yeah, the biggest suggestion I have when I meet with couples before their wedding is, unless you have 1,000 songs that you want to hear, don't over request songs for me. Leave me some wiggle room. If you give me your top 20 songs, that's enough to tell me what you like, and I can kind of fill in the blanks from there. But B, when I do a wedding and I've got 150 requests from the bride and groom, I'm pretty much going to be playing their music all night long. Now, sometimes that works. Sometimes that goes over well. But there are times where I feel like, I think I could be doing a better job with this crowd if I wasn't stuck to this playlist. But I am one of those DJs who focuses on customer service. So if a couple wants me to do something, I will do it for them in advance. If it's stuff that I don't think is going to work, we'll have that conversation prior to the wedding. But once I get to that wedding, whatever instruction they've given me, I'm going to follow through on. But there are times where I literally feel like my hands are tied, because I know I could be doing a better job with this crowd than this list is giving me. So my suggestion to a couple is, unless they're musical people and they have all these songs give me your top whatever favorites, 15, 20, 25 favorites, and then leave the rest up to me, because it's going to give me some wiggle room to make my own professional calls. And that comes from years and years and decades of music experience, which most couples don't have.
I totally agree, especially if you are restricting enough to say, I don't want any country, but grandpa comes up and says, hey, can you play some Waylon Jennings? That puts them in a bad position, you in a bad position, and maybe get that one bad review on social media because you didn't play what the family member wanted. So I
Yeah, that's
agree.
always a tough position. I'll be honest, if I was in that position and it was the grandfather, I'd probably go up to the couple and say, hey, listen, I know you don't want country, but grandpa just asked for Waylon Jennings. Can I throw something in during dinner to make him happy? And I would think most couples at that point would say, oh, sure, play something for my grandfather. If they said no still, okay, I'm not going to do it, but I would be surprised in that situation. Now, if it's just some guy sitting at table 14, no, I'm not going to bother the couple. But if it's grandpa or the uncle of the groom or something like that, I'm probably just going to ask them about it.
You know, being a problem solver, that's what the DJ is about. And you have to make sure that everybody's needs are met there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there something that we missed today that you wanted to share?
Well, I have done a number of seminars about programming and about music. And so the two last things that is probably fitting that we'll close out the podcast with this is I think the way we end our parties is just as important as how we begin. Everybody talks about you never get a second chance to make a first impression, which is extremely true and important. But you also never get a second chance to make a last impression. And I think that the last 5 to 10 minutes of a party is essential. Packing that dance floor one more time, I always like to end on an upbeat song, on a high note, have everybody screaming, do one more shout out for the couple, mention where they're going on their honeymoon, if it's someplace cool and sexy, send them off with some love. Those types of things are really, really critical. And then if I'm playing in a banquet hall that's not going to pull my plug, and that's most of the banquet halls in my area, if I get that one more song chant, I'm playing it. I don't have any problem staying 3 to 5 minutes over time and not getting paid for it if it's going to make this crowd. And when I say one more song chant, that's what I mean. I'm not talking about one drunk dude, one more song. I'm talking about when they start one more song. Unless if I look at the maitre d' and he's like, I'm going to pull your plug if you play that song, I will play it and it makes people happy. I've had brides mention that in their wedding wire reviews after the fact. They'll say, Mike helped us throw such a great party. My crowd chanted one more song and he gave it to us and that was great. I think I see too many DJs online say, they only paid me till 11. I'm not going to go to 11:04. Really, what the hell's 4 minutes in your life? Just so end the party on a high note. And if you get that one more song, consider it a compliment. When I get disappointed sometimes when I don't get a one more song chat. Like I usually queue up that one more song just in case I get it. And then the party ends and I go, thank you, good night, and nothing. And I look at my assistant and I go, I can't believe we didn't get a one more song chat. Like I miss it sometimes. So I love it when we get it.
I have to ask one more question. And what is your favorite one more song to play?
Probably Jump Around. Obviously, it has to be something that I didn't play during the regular party, but I would say probably Jump Around, House of Pain. It's got that great beginning and it's not too long. What is it, 3-ish minutes? And it just ends on another high note. And hopefully it'll tire them out so much that they won't ask for a second one more song. But yeah, usually if I have not played that one, that's the one I'll put up. Well, also if they don't, some of my couples say no rap, in which case, obviously not that. But if I don't have that restriction and I haven't played it, usually Jump Around is the one I'll dock.
I think that's a great place to end. Thanks, Mike. Where can listeners connect with you and find you and include on this date?
Okay. Well, you can find me, Michael Walter, on Instagram. I'm DJ Mike Walter. You know what I'd recommend? Follow me on Mixcloud as well. I put up a lot of live mixes that I record for my events on Mixcloud. So if you're interested in hearing my programming and hearing how often I prompt the crowd and the things I say, follow me on Mixcloud, DJ Mike Walter. And yes, I wrote a book called On This Date in Music, which you can find either on Amazon, or if you want an autographed copy, you can go right to the website that I've set up, On This Date in Music. And I basically tell a story 366 days of the year. There's a different story about something that happened in music on that date. And I've gotten really good feedback. That book has been out for a number of years and people seem to really enjoy it. So would love for listeners to pick that up.
Awesome. Make sure you check that out. And thanks, Mike, for being on the show. Much appreciated. Everybody stay tuned for next week for another episode of the Wedding Songs podcast and an interview with another wedding pro. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Wedding Songs podcast. Never miss a future episode. Subscribe today to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook at My Wedding Songs and send us a message about playlists you would like covered.